Okay.
Welcome Wargamers to 2 Plus Tough. This is Doug, and today we are talking about Valkia the Bloody, Gorequeen of Khorne. This video is requested by Jade Brunner and MC. Eventually I do want to do a full Khorne week, giving him just as much coverage as I did the other gods Tzeentch and Nurgle, but this is just a little video to kind of whet your appetite. To put it very simply, Valkia the Bloody, if you're not familiar with her, is simply a champion of Khorne, a sort of half-mortal, half-demon imbued with the Chaos God's power. She is known as the Gorequeen of Aqshy, obviously in the realm of fire, and she's also known as the Lady of Wrath in Haish, in the realm of light, which is interesting because we actually don't have many references to the realm of light yet, so it's interesting that she has sort of renown up there. Now, Valkia's story is extremely interesting. I actually love it. She was raised in a tribe of chaos followers dedicated to Khorne, right? Think slaves to darkness of Khorne, these kind of barbaric tribals, possibly very nomadic. And in that setting, Valkia rose to becoming the chieftain. Now, I'm assuming in a Khorne 8 tribe, might makes right, kind of generally is always how it's been in the book, so she must be extremely good at fighting. Right, so this is really an incredible feat to become the champion of a larger tribe like this. And she was dedicated body, heart, and soul to the blood god himself. And the book actually calls it that she was straight up savage. She did a lot of killing in his name, and it was incredible. In fact, her savagery was so great that her own people turned on her. Because at a certain point, if you're a Khorne follower, if you're not familiar, Khorne is not only the god of mindless bloodshed and slaughter, but he's also a prized warrior, right? He respects the warrior. He wants worthy skulls, not just all of them. Well, if you're a great Khorne leader and you keep smashing anything that comes your way, at a certain point your followers are going to look at you and say, wait a minute, we're killing all these people really easily. It seems like my leader is the only worthy person around here, so if I take their skull, I will be ascendant in Khorne's eyes. And with that, her tribe turned on her, and Valkia was furious at the betrayal. The Battle Tome Blades of Khorne actually says she fought like a bloodthirster, and she impaled hundreds on her spear before finally being cut down. Those are both direct quotes. Now let's pause and think about this. If there are hundreds of warriors to cut down in a full society of tribalmen, that means this tribe is actually fairly massive, because each one of them would probably have some way of obviously having children and things like that, and livestock, all those things. So this actually is a massive tribe that, one, she ascended to, being the leader of, and then slaughtered hundreds of them. And even though she was cut down eventually, Khorne was super impressed, not only with her track record of being a great chieftain, but also the sheer savagery of which she fought off her betrayers. And Khorne looked down at her kind of mangled, torn up body and breathed life back into her, and she was reborn into the winged demon queen that she is now. And when Valkia was reborn, she immediately went right back to her tribe and butchered every single one of them, which really just makes sense. And with her revenge complete, Valkia obviously didn't have a place to go at that point. She was all alone, and alone's not really the best place to be for a Khorne champion. So she goes out to the Chaos Realm, in Khorne's kind of dominion of that space, and begins kind of carving out her own realm, her own kingdom, if you will. And this is easy for her to do, frankly, because she's part demon now. She has been molded and shaped in Khorne's image, and so kind of traversing the realm of chaos into Khorne's area is not nearly as suicidal as it was before. And she finds a nice little area to defend in a little nook in the side of a mountain called Mount Ashenfell. Interesting to note here that we don't really get a whole lot of description of various locations in their chaos realm. Usually it's just kind of like, we came from Nurgle's Garden, right? It's kind of this bland, generic, sweeping statement, but to actually have a named mountainside means there's like a geographical area in the realm of chaos, so that's kind of interesting to me. It seems much more crystallized and defined than it was before. And from this defensible position, she launches some super bloody crusades in Khorne's name. Remember, she's still a chieftain, is still a champion of Khorne doing what he does, and she's still utterly devoted, if not even more so now that she feels as though she has been chosen personally. And now with her kind of demon-esque powers and allegiances, she can pull demons and mortals alike into her crusades. I want to point out that you do not want to be on the receiving end of when she comes to town. The book straight up says she has more favor than any of Khorne's other champions. That's not a good thing if you're on the other end. She is largely unchallenged in her area because she is so devoted and such a great chieftain and leader. At one point, a demon prince named, I'm going to pronounce this as Lucafax, once said that she would make a better slave than a chieftain. Now, of course, this is a grave insult to somebody, and so what did she do? Well, she cut his head off, but didn't let him die. And if you look at the model, which I'll put up here now, her shield is actually the face of that demon prince, still living. Now this is incredibly important because she didn't collect the skull, and that's very, very significant in a culture and a religious system that values the prizes, which means that she thought he was so little and beneath her that he wasn't worthy of even being collected and offered to Khorne, which is like a way bigger insult than you would think it would be. And she hasn't made a massive appearance in the current Age of Sigmar setting. She has done a few things the book calls out, that she fought Bloab Rotsbond during the Realmgate Wars. She has encountered the Tempest Lord's Stormcast Chamber a few times, but other than that, there's not a whole lot of direct talking about Valkia or getting inside her head coverage. There is a Black Library book called Valkia the Bloody by Sarah Cockwell, and I've heard really good things, but I haven't picked it up yet. But if you are really interested in this character, I'm sure a lot of information there is very, very cool. Alright, so that's what we know about Valkia, but why is she a cool character in the Age of Sigmar setting now? Well, first off, she's a badass lady as a general, okay? She's a badass lady in general. She survived an upbringing in a might makes a right kind of tribe, which alone, male or female, is an incredible achievement. But here's the thing though, might makes right is different when you're talking about the kind of physical stature for men that you often see in these kind of models and Black Library books and like that. So what I'm saying is not that it's a bigger achievement because she's a woman, but she must be extremely crafty about how she fights, and that is insightful to her as a personality characteristic, right? It's different to be the biggest and the strongest, like that's generally how orcs are, but with the Khorne warriors, you can also be the most skilled and the most deadly, right? She's good at fighting, not just good at being strong. In addition to that, she's not only a good fighter, but she has to be a fantastic leader, more importantly, right? Her tribe must have been massive if it had 200 plus warriors, and to lead a Khorne warband, you have to be more than a good fighter. It's not enough. You have to be able to be crafty enough to direct the rage and wrath of the people below you into a meaningful way. This way your warband continues to grow and doesn't die to infighting. You have to throw them at the right enemies at the right time, keep them busy, keep them fed, keep them moving. There's a lot of things involved in this that go far beyond physical prowess. And all these things speak to her character and prowess before we're ever receiving a true gift of Khorne. Like, this was just her as a person. And then you infuse all that demonic energy and he changes her form and all these kinds of cool things, so it only amplifies what was already there. And speaking of which, her ascension story is incredibly interesting. Right, because when Khorne warriors talk about their ascension to demonhood or something like that, or getting gifts of Khorne, it always seems to be like on top of a huge pyramid of skulls. We saw this with Korghos Kull in the first Realmgate War books. He was about to achieve demonhood, put the last skull on top of his big giant skull pyramid, whatever. But Valkia, her ascension happened when she was killed, right? No matter how good a fight, her path to glory ended at that point. And in previous lore, that was it. You were just done. You didn't have what it took. But what's interesting about her is that even on the cusp of failure, she was able to please a god so much that he chose her. And in addition to that, it's interesting that gods have the power to resurrect mortals. Now, I've thought about this quite a bit here, because we don't often see full-blown like resurrection necessarily. There are a few. Stormcast, I mean, they don't really lose their essence. They just kind of bolt back to Azir. But to be truly dead and then brought back is different. For example, does Nagash want her soul? Does he feel like it's owed to her? Does the fact that she was a Khorne chieftain beforehand mean that she was never going to go to Shyish anyway? She was always damned from the beginning? I'm curious. I don't really actually know. Regardless, it is very, very interesting. You think about something like Gutrot Spoom, who Nurgle orchestrated this event to put him in a compromising situation, and then right before he died, he kind of twisted his arm until Gutrot cried out for Nurgle's aid, and then he arrived and went full-blown part demon or whatever. In this case, he let her die and then was able to like jet her soul back into her, so that's a very interesting kind of dynamic. Her look is also very, very unique, because the Khorne isn't really usually into the kind of lithe beauty, whatever. Typically when someone ascends in Khorne, they always look kind of roided out, right? The big, way over-muscular, kind of monstrosity hulking beast thing. But with her, she looks very much like her, but almost a person, a female, infused with a bloodthirster. And that's really great because it matches the description of when she was fighting against her tribesman who betrayed her, that she fought like a bloodthirster. Well, she literally looks like a bloodthirster and a human put into one. And with that, she becomes very deadly and graceful and incredibly cool looking, as well as having an awesome backstory. And even though she has a short lore segment, we can actually extrapolate a lot of that info, like about her, how big her tribe must have been, how good of a chieftain she must have been, how great she is at combat, and we can kind of piece together how great she was in life, and imagine now how devastating she must be now that she has all kind of demonic abilities and allegiances and things like that. And so friends, those are my thoughts on Valkia the Bloody. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you in my next Age of Sigmar lore video. Thank you so much for watching, and happy wargaming. Hey friends, I hope you enjoyed that video, and I want to introduce you to some awesome folks. These are my patrons over on Patreon, and they make this show possible by their direct support of me to buy battle tomes and Black Library books and all the material I need and the hardware support that I need to make this stuff possible. And if you'd like to join them, go ahead and click over to the Patreon page, to the link in the description down below, and you'll be introduced to a really awesome community of people talking about the hobby, sharing what they're painting. I invite them to be part of polls to decide what content comes next. I raffle off every battle tome that I review, and we're having some great fun and discussions over there. So go ahead and check it out. Now, if you can't support in that way, that's completely fine. I'm just so glad that you watched this video here today. And if you have an Age of Sigmar lore question, go ahead and click subscribe and leave it in the comments down below. I read every single question and comment. I respond to as many as I possibly can, but I use them all as inspiration for future videos. So go ahead and do that now. And I look forward to seeing you guys on my next Age of Sigmar lore video. Thank you so much for watching, and happy wargaming.